What's up, riders? It's Jim from Caledonia Keys. I just thought I'd do a quick and dirty here on air pressure for your tires. All right, so let's get to it. So when you do your air pressure, there are a few different ways you can check your air pressure. A lot of times you do it with a air pressure gauge. We've got a manual air pressure gauge here, which if I was going to use one, this is what I'd probably use. There's also digital air pressure gauges that you can buy. Just make sure that when you buy an air pressure gauge, it is a motorcycle air pressure gauge. It's not one that's set for a bicycle. We don't want to be measuring tire pressures at like 110, 140 PSI, okay? So just make sure the air pressure gauge is set for a motorcycle. Now, more recently, I picked myself up a CAT power station right here. Now, it'll take care of jump starting your bike if you need it, but mainly for me, because I tend to keep mine a trickle charger, I just got it for the air pressure. And why? Well, I don't need to take my air pressure gauge, get a reading, and fill up the tires and take another reading. I can just set my air pressure on this power station to what it needs to be. So, how do I know what my air pressure is going to be? A couple ways. One, you can check your owner's manual. It'll tell you in there. The other thing we can do, we can look on the side of the bike. Okay, so on my Triumph America, I'm just going to check the side of the bike. You can find the tire pressures here, and we can see the front needs to be 30 and the rear needs to be 42. Okay, and that's the ideal tire pressure for this bike. Okay, so your front tire is usually the easiest one to access. We can easily get at the valve stem on the front tire. Take off the valve stem cover. Hook up our hose. Just screws on there. I'm not too worried about what the pressure is on the bike, because once I turn this thing on and set the pressure, it's just going to set it to the right pressure. So we want to set this to air, and you can see the 42 flashing. I already had this thing set for the rear tire, but in this case we actually want to set it to 30 and we're at 28. So I'm going to set my pressure to 30, and I'm going to hit air. As you can see, it shuts off as soon as it hits 30. Quickly unscrew the hose. Back on with the valve stem cap. Then move to the rear. Okay, so you can see at the rear, I've moved the bike into a position where I can easily access the rear valve stem cover. So you might need to just move your bike forward or back a little bit, find the ideal spot, okay? So, same thing, we're gonna take off that valve stem cover, take the hose from the power station, screw that on, and when we check power station again, we're going to hit air. Now we're still set at 30 because we did that rear tire, and our pressure's at 40.7. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the air pressure to 42, nice and easy. Hit air again. There we go, perfect air pressure. Now, like I said, for this video, I used a CAT power station that I picked up from Costco, but you don't need that one. The general idea is you just pick up a machine that is going to have an auto shut off for your air pressure, and of course you want it to be accurate. If you don't want to go that route and just want to stick with the tire pressure gauge, you can do that. You can fill up your tires with a bicycle pump if you want. Just use your tire pressure gauge afterwards to make sure you have the right pressure. Now, some people are going to say that, well, you don't always want to have it set at the tire pressure that's on the side of the bike or maybe on the owner's manual. And there's some truth to that. I mean, if you're going to be overloading the bike, maybe you're taking a passenger or you're going on a long trip, you're taking some cargo, you might want to add a couple more pounds pressure there. So if this video helped you out, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and till next time, ride on.